Hi guys, my name is Nikhil and welcome to Excel in Excel. In this episode, we're going to talk about a few basics such as autofill function, sorting and filtering your data, rounding up and referencing. So without wasting any time, let's look at the first topic for today, which is autofill. Autofill is nothing but just the Excel trying to fill up data based on some sequences that you can follow. So for example, if you're talking about numbers, if I have 1, 2, and I think you probably would have seen this in the previous videos where I could just drag these numbers, and I just get a sequence of numbers that I'm looking for. This also works for say the the week. So if I have Monday here, and if I try to drag it down, it's going to give me the sequence what follows after Monday. Similarly, something cool which also Excel is pretty smart. It's smarter than all of us combined probably. So if I just have 5, 10, 15, so by the numerical logic that we're applying, the next number should be 20, and following on, it keeps on adding 5. And this is what Excel sort of does for you. So this is one of the ways that you could also use these small tips and tricks to make your life easier. It not only works vertically, but you could also have this horizontally extended. So if I just extend 5, what happens, it's just going to drag the same number. But look what happens if I do this. If I have 5 and 10, and if I drag it by sequence, it's going to get the next number in sequence, even in the horizontal sense. If I have to select, let me just move this, let me insert it a few columns so I could show you that this also works in reverse. So if I drag this on the left, you see what happens, it goes on the negative side as well, basically. This could also work if you have different formats. If you just write Monday, and if you write Tuesday, and then I drag it down, I get the same format that I'm trying to drag in a way. So that was quickly one function, which is the autofill sequence, which can be very useful in Excel. That was the first part of this video. And I've already prepared a few sheets instead of typing in while I'm recording this video, because I'm smart that way. But anyway, going on to the sort and filter function, it's pretty useful when you can sort your data out. And luckily we're not working on papers, we're working on digital sheets, so our life sort of becomes easier because of sorting and filtering data out. So let's just talk about sorting things out. If you had these salesmen's names, for example, and if you wanted to sort them out by alphabetical order, all you could do is maybe you could just select this range, and then in your home tab, if you go to the ribbon of sort and filter under editing group, you can go to custom sort, and then you select your rep name, which is your column name, and you just try and click A to Z. You want it in the normal A to Z order, basically. What happens is it takes all the lines that are linked with the name Andrew, for example, and puts all of the data together. Yeah, that is one way you could do this. At the same time, you could sort them out by the totals that these salesmen have had in sales, for example. So I would do the same. I would go to custom sort, and I would select say example, I want to find the highest to lowest in the total column. So I just select largest to smallest, and there we have this data, which is sorted out. I mean, this is not the way I like to sort things out. I always like to apply the filter function that we have, and I can go and select filter over here. Or there's also a shortcut, which is by pressing Control Shift and L. So whenever I have obviously to select a filter, I just press Control Shift and L altogether. I don't go to the sort and filter and do a few clicks. But similarly, once you filter your data, you could also sort your data out through the filter tab. Filter is nothing but just going to give you all the sort of common names that you have. It's not going to repeat them. It's going to give you all the data over here. It's going to give you all the data points that you have here, and you can also just filter them out or sort them out here, and you can just select largest to smallest and so on. You could also maybe highlight a few things here which are sort of important to you, and you just want to look at that data, for example. what I usually do is I select this and I go to filter by color and select yellow. So I only select this data. And sometimes when I want to move this data across sheets, all I do is I copy this. So like you see, when I press Control and C to copy, it's not selecting all the rows that I have. It's only selecting uh, these 5 lines, for example. So if I just copy this and paste, I have the data that I'm looking for. In a way, this could be useful at times when you're using the filter function, for example. I don't want to dwell into too many details, but also what would be nice, you could also obviously go to data and clear this, or you could also clear it from here, or clear filter from rep. That was an option. One more thing that I like to do is, let me just clear these out. Yeah, one more thing that I like to do with the filter function is you can try and use these functions over here. Yeah, so if I just want to select data, for example, that is only greater than 100. So it's very smartly going to filter out the data that is only above 100, for example. And then I could just copy this and use this for my other reports if I have to. And yeah, that's pretty cool. There's so many other things, you know, it's less than, more than, equal to, or if you just want to have the top 10, for example, I could also get the top 10 items. So yeah, it's pretty nice. I mean, this is again a little useful when you're trying to filter and sort data out. Moving on to the rounding function. Rounding is nothing but trying to get to the next decimal point on a rounded number. So if I'm looking at a number like 4.9, and if I want to round up, I would be looking at 5 as the rounded up number. Similarly, if it's a 4.9 and I'm looking for a round down number, it would be 4. And at the same time, you know, if I could just want to round this number automatically, so if I use the round function, if I just select the round function, Excel automatically detects if it's going to be rounded up or rounded down. So if it's above 0.5, for example, 6.5, it will select 7. If it's 6.4, it will select 6. So I could use that, and I could just select this cell over here. So I would use round, select the cell, comma, 0. And when I press enter, then I get this. And when I drag this down, what happens is it's going to copy all the formulas that I have in cell D3, and it's going to copy all the formula down to all the cells that we have in column D. So similarly, when I'm rounding it for 12.15, I get 12. Simple, right? Let's say, for example, you just want to round up the numbers. What you would do is simply use a round up function and select this cell over here and press enter. So you see what happens is it's rounding up 60.3 to 61 and so on. The round down function is very similar to the round up function. I would just select round down, comma, 0, close the brackets, enter, and then drag all of this down. So that's pretty much it for the rounding function. I want to move in to the most interesting part, which I think is referencing. Say I have this set of data here, which is in column B. I have a set of data in column C, and I want to have a multiplier, and I want to multiply this multiplied by this. And I want to do this for all the columns. So, you know, obviously when I drag this down, you might have just got the gist of it, how the formulas work. It's actually showing you that I'm using B4 into C4, for example, right? And when I drag this down, when I drag this cell down, it does that for all the cells in column D below 780, for example. So it's automatically setting up formulas for me. I don't need to do all the hard work. What's interesting is also your requirements will always change. You don't want to multiply only column B by column C. What's cool also is, you know, if I want to multiply, say, data point, data 1, and I want to multiply all of these cells by just one cell here, which is 5. What I would do is I could do this, multiply this by 5. What I essentially want to do is lock in a cell which is number 5, which is in B2 or B1. So all I have to do is, you know, I just have to maybe highlight this, or you can't even highlight it, you don't have to, but just for, you know, educational purposes, I'm just going to highlight this, and I will press F4. When I press F4, you see what happens? There's a dollar sign that gets inserted between B and 1. So what it's saying is that you lock in cell B1, you lock in column B, you lock in row number 1. And when I press enter, so I get this answer for 13 into 5. But when I drag this down, what happens is it's not moving this cell further below. It's just locking in cell 5. And all of these formulas are automatically done. And if I change this cell to 10, what happens exactly is that these formulas get changed as well, because the reference is to the cell. It's not to a value like 5. So every time you update cells, it could change your data automatically. And this is really useful when you're trying to do different scenarios. At least in my work, when I work on a file and I have an assumption, I like to keep it as not a value, but I want to have as many formulas as I can enter. So if there are any changes required, I just plug and play with the cells here. With referencing also, if I just go back to this cell here, and if I just drag these on the right hand side, you see what happens is it's just going to take all the logical multiplication that is following through. Similarly, if I just use this as locking in only the cell B1 and I drag these off, what's happening is taking this multiplied by this. When I drag these down on the right hand side, it's going to take all the cells following through on the right, but this cell is always fixed. And I could just drag these down and apply the logic for all the cells here in a way. More or less, yeah, this is how the functions work. You could always change and try and test and see what happens if you lock instead of this cell here, if you lock this instead of 10, and what happens then. Just multiply this by, so all the cells will be multiplied by 13 in a way. So dragging this on, everything will keep on changing except the reference to cell which has the value 13. So yeah, this episode was all about autofilling, sorting and filtering out, rounding, referencing. These are really basic things. Like I always try to emphasize, these basic things can save a lot of time. And if you have any comments on or any better tricks that you apply for these categories that I just spoke about, feel free to drop a comment, and don't be shy and hit that subscribe button. Wow, I feel like a YouTube content creator in my third video itself. But anyway, until next time, I hope you are keeping well, and we will see you very, very soon.